Good day all. I thought hopefully that camera is working well for you. I thought I would show a bit of a pack feeding, not actual pack feeding, but how I feed my pack of dogs. This is just something I do every now and again as a way to reduce the budget. And what you'll see in the bottom there is actually a mashup of, well, it's a crock pot, a slow cooker that is full of all of our table scraps from the week. So meat, veggies, cereal, even milk, yogurt, stuff like that. I also add in bones, and then I cover it all with vinegar and water. And here we got a chicken bone, and as you can see, it actually just crumples up in my hands like that. I'm only wearing gloves because I'm also going to be dishing out fish with this. Anyways, and I cook it all down until it turns into basically a gruel, a thick porridge, I guess. Here's another bit of bone. Again, it's just going to crumple in my hands. Oh, that's actually got a bit of meat on it still. Some people will carry on about, you know, the cooked bones. They are cooked that thoroughly in water and vinegar that they will just crumble up in your hands. They are of no danger to your dogs. And I basically do this, I'm feeding 20 dogs. I've even got some pork rib bones here. There we go. Again, they just fall apart in your hands. And then once the bones are nice and soft, I'll just put in a few cups of rice. I'm just giving it a quick mix. Should have mixed it before the video. But basically, this ends up being largely rice because I put in enough rice to, actually here we go. That's a big knuckle bone. That's a lamb knuckle bone, and that just, again, falls apart in your hands. Well, I did wear gloves for this. Again, that's perfectly safe for your dogs to consume. Anyways, this is just literally a cost-saving way for me to add to my dog's diet. My dogs normally eat a product called Nutrigold. Again, another bit of bone. That's a rib bone. And I just add this in rotation. They get it maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks. They're always really happy with these sorts of meals. They love these sorts of meals. They love anything that basically isn't kibble, if we're being honest. Like, they'll eat kibble. They never say no to their kibble, but for what it's worth, they do prefer homemade foods. I've got some leftovers already in her bowl. So basically they all get a scoop of this to start with. Oops. And yes, it is largely rice, but the rice has been cooking in the broth. So it's got all the meat juices, all the veggie juices. This is not a complete diet in and of itself. I know a lot of people will be like, oh, well, it's got meat, and you've got bones, and you've got veggies, and you've even got rice. You know, you've got your meat and your carbs and your veggies all sorted. There is more to a dog's diet than meat, veggies and bones. Like, this is just, here we go, that's another bit of knuckle bone. Again, just crumbles. Just crumbles. That's perfectly safe and digestible. This is just an extra. This is not their staple diet. This doesn't even make up a significant part of their diet, really. You can see I've got peas and carrot. This is something I grew up doing as a kid with my family. We would always have a dog pot going. It was literally just a crock pot, a stock pot, a slow cooker, and we used to just put all of our table scraps. And you know, I grew up with 2 sisters and a brother. 4 of us, and sometimes, you know, you have friends and stuff. Our kids waste a lot of food, so there was always ample table scraps to share with the dogs. I've gone through and mashed up most of the bones already, so I'm not too worried about sitting through it. And yes, as you'll see, and someone will comment, oh, it's mostly rice, and like, yes, it is. There is 6.5 cups of rice being put into 16 litres, 4 gallons of stock, plus you got all the veggies and the meat and the bones. This is just an extra, and everyone will basically get a ladle or a scoop. And whatever's left over will get frozen and saved up for next time. I can have a little bit more. And basically, as I said, I'm feeding 21 dogs. I've got some young puppies. That enjoy this sort of stuff. I'm just mixing it up a bit more. Let's see if I can lift this up and show you what it looks like at the moment without knocking too much over. So that's the crock pot. That's what I've got left. So I've used about probably half. And that's all the bowls that have been dished out. And now I'm going to do some frozen fish. Oops. I'm not real good at this sort of stuff, so you have to forgive me. Whoopsie. And this has no additional supplements. And I've always got fish on hand. I keep specifically frozen mullet handy for my dogs. It's a cheap, oily fish. It's a seasonal oily fish. I can get loads of it. I can get 100 kilos, 200 pounds, 210 pounds that is, I believe. And it will last us most of the year. We are coming into the last of our fish stocks at the moment, so we will be looking forward to, my phone's ringing in the background, to the next mullet run. You can hear one of my puppies actually in the background, my youngest. We will have our next mullet run in March. It's currently November. So it's a little while away yet. They get fresh mullet every Tuesday and Friday. I'll show you what that looks like now. Oops. There you go. He doesn't eat fresh fish, he'll eat canned fish. That's the little dude here. He's only just coming up 9 weeks old. She doesn't eat fresh fish. They'll get some canned fish, but everyone else has a chunk of fresh fish. And I'll add their dry food now as well, and it can all just sort of marinate together. Oopsie, I've just lost that focus. You can also see I've got empty dog food bags around the place. I reuse them as garbage bags. He doesn't eat a lot, so a little handful of his puppy mix that his breeder sent along will do him just fine. And this is the food that I use. Whoops, I'm going to have to move that crock pot. This is the food that we use. Nutrigold, grain-free formulas for all life stages. They've got a turkey and a duck formula as well. They're all the same, they're just a different protein base. So we just interchange them. The fish is the favourite one with my dogs. And I can feed it to all the dogs, puppies, adults, everyone. and have no problems at all with that. We've tried a whole heap of different foods over the years. Is that breedy? Yes. A bit more. We nearly always end up coming back to, well, we end up sticking with this one, I should say. We have used other foods, Upanuba, Pro-Plan. You can have a bit more. Royal Canin featured heavily for quite some time. But they became unavailable. Canada actually was one that I used on and off a few years ago. And then for travelling, I would get the Canada all my stages. And then it just up and disappeared off the market. Not quite as much. That's that bag done. But this one has worked out well because the puppies can eat it. It's a slightly larger kibble, a larger kibble piece. I'll pick some up and show you. So even my gutsy beagles have to actually chew it up. They can't just bolt it down. And I'm feeding everything from a little 7.5 kilo, 15 pound Jack Russell to a 28 kilo, 62 pound stag hound. If you don't know what a stag hound is, it's basically a hunting dog, a hunting mix. She's deerhound, whippet, greyhound, a little bit of bull terrier, Staffordshire bull terrier, sorry. But I otherwise mostly have beagles, a couple of border collies, a couple of cattle dogs, a couple of American staffies, ASTs, Amstaffs, American Staffordshire Terriers, whatever you want to call them. And I've got my big bull lurcher as well, bull terrier ridgeback. And everyone does well on this stuff. When you have so many dogs, the biggest issue you'll have in life is finding something that everyone does well on. There are probably other foods I could try. There's probably some Australian foods I could probably still try, and I've tried a lot of them. There's just been one issue after another. There's been a couple that I have really liked. XP3020 is one Australian food that I've really liked. The dogs loved it. But it was a very small kibble piece. It was an all life stages food, which was great for puppies. I actually had a whole litter of puppies. I mixed it with a couple of different other foods, and they actually would pick out the XP3020 above all else, and they were only little, like 8-week-old puppies. There are other foods I'm yet to try, other kibble foods, but the NutriGold is basically one that we've had consistently good results with young and old dogs. It is lower calorie than what I prefer. It's only about 350 calories per cup, so when we're working, the dogs eat a lot of it. But that's why I add a lot of these other extra things. So the cooked food, the raw food, oily fish, raw eggs. They'll get a raw egg cracked over this each later on today. This is their dinner meal. They've already had breakfast. It's about 11 AM in the morning as I'm recording this. And basically this is what we come down to. But anyways, as I was saying, back to the actual cooked food aspect. So this is just a dog pot, we call it. It's just a 16 litre or 4 gallon slow cooker, ceramic crock pot, whatever you want to call it. You'll see there's some flies. I've actually left the door open to help the light in here because it's otherwise not very good. And basically you throw your bones in first, your bones and your meat scraps. I even throw in fat, like there's some pork skin and stuff in here. Cooked fat is a bit hard for some dogs. My dogs are used to it, so it's not a big deal. It also doesn't make up a huge amount. Like once you spread it out amongst all 21 dogs, it is not as huge of an impact on them. But basically you'll throw your bones and everything in, and then you just fill them. I do 1 part vinegar to like 4 parts water. The vinegar is what breaks down the bone and makes it soft and digestible. You must add vinegar to get the best result. If you're just going to do a bone broth, so in which case you just cover the bones with water and some vinegar, then it doesn't really matter. You can just lift the bones out because you're not going to be using them after that. But I use the bones, and I cook them. I just add in veggies, so potato peelings, carrot ends, leafy greens or the stalks off of my celery that I don't want to use. Anything and everything that we can eat, with the exception of things like corn cobs, grapes and raisins or sultanas. Star fruit is also toxic. Obviously don't put any seeds or like fruit piths or anything in there. Most of it just comes down to common sense. But I mean, if I even did a pot of chili and it didn't turn out real good, I'd throw the whole thing in there. Some people will have a big sook over that, but my dogs are fine. As I said, once it cooks up, once the bones are soft enough that you can break them with your fingers, like I was showing at the beginning, you can then add the rice, or if you don't want to add rice, you can use sweet potato or oats or barley or anything that you want, and it's purely just a fill. It's just to bulk it out. I did 6 cups because there was a lot of fluid. And basically I just put it in, I'll wait till the rice starts to swell, then I'll just switch it off, and the residual heat from the crock pot will cook the rice all the way through. And there was even still quite an amount of fluid left over in this lot as well. I probably could have done 8 cups of rice, but basically if you know how much fluid is in your pot, then you just add the appropriate amount of like filler. Rice is just used as a fill. It is a good carbohydrate source, which is great. When you have active dogs, this will, is not great for less active dogs. Shoe fly. Probably wouldn't recommend it. Maybe just as an occasional thing, in which case you just use, you skim the fat off and you sort of be more careful with how you do it. But because my dogs are quite active, even though we're going into summer, so instead of doing like, 30 or 40 Ks, which is I think is about 15 miles a day, we're probably only going to be doing a couple of like 3 to 5 Ks a day, which is about 2 to 3 miles thereabouts. Whoops, hopefully that didn't blank out. But you can see all that. As I said, they'll get canned fish later. But basically those frozen chunks of fish will keep the food fresh until I feed them this afternoon. I'll actually let it thaw out a bit, so they can work through it a bit more. Any questions or comments, just feel free to pop them down and I'll respond to them if I get time. If I don't get time, well, I may just have to do another video later on for it. But this is just a cheap way to add extras to the food. Like I don't have to use as much kibble doing it this way. The fish, the raw mullet that I get, the raw fish I get, basically it's just my equivalent to salmon, I guess. Like we do have salmon here, but it's way expensive. I can get a 10 kilo box. 10 kilos of mullet will set me back anywhere between 10 to 20 bucks. So that's $1 to $2 or maybe $25 if it's a fairly lean year. So basically $1 to $2 per kilo, which is about 50 cents to 75 cents per pound, I think, roughly. My conversion may be off a bit there. So cost effective, it is good for the dogs, but as I said, it's not a complete and balanced meal to use the fish and the cooked food. The dry food, the kibble, is not there as a vitamin replacement or anything. It's purely just the kibble is the base and everything else is just an extra on top. My dogs eat probably at the moment anywhere between 50 to 80% kibble, just because I have so many. And it's just a bit easier particularly because I'm sort of all over the place with work and everything. So hopefully that helps some of you out. You can hear someone fussing in the background. As I said, any questions, just pop a comment down. Or you can message my beagle page on Facebook, Beastly Bush Beagles, which I'll be linking the YouTube and the Facebook all together, hopefully. And yeah, have a good day.